But not over and over. If you're doing that over and over, they can sense that, man. That's where the science comes in. They can sense when you don't have sexual control. So those are some of the main things. So, man, I'm sure there's more. Comment on it. We'll talk about it. But I want to go into the women. Now, the women, there's a lot of obvious ones with women. The health, we'll go start back with the health and the biology. The health and the biology risks are, we went over, 800% more likely to get STDs. They're encompassing fluids, DNA. They carry, I don't care what study tells you that that's not true, that is true. Listen, I'm going to put it like this. Because you get people that say, well, because first of all, whenever you hear something that says new studies, there's nothing new under the sun. That is code word for manipulated information. Nothing is new. You can only discover certain things, maybe learn it for yourself, but nothing is actually new.
All 3 eyes, I keep my eyes open. If you can't stay strapped before you die smoking. All 3 eyes, I keep my eyes open. Ain't no competition, I'm God's chosen. All 3 eyes, I keep my eyes open. If you can't stay strapped before you die smoking. All 3 eyes, I keep my eyes open. Ain't no competition, I'm God's chosen. I can't hide my face from my people in the revolution. I gotta get out, help them get the retribution. Give my contribution, keep my heart daily. And even if they don't pay me, I do it crazy, for free. Be what we gotta be, not the army, but it's you and me. Black Panther, Black Power, we riding. Understand, gotta help out or we residing. Gotta build in the home, build our domes. Build with the knowledge, fuck college, yeah, fuck that bullshit, let's get rich, understand, gotta live it, and got 3 eyes, I keep my eyes open, if you can't stay strapped before you die smoking, all 3 eyes, I keep my eyes open, ain't no competition, I'm God's chosen, all 3 eyes, I keep my eyes open, if you can't stay strapped before you die smoking, all 3 eyes, I keep my eyes open, ain't no competition, I'm God's chosen, gotta stay strapped.
Peace, love, life, and balance. And welcome to Universoul. Life Balance Universoull. I'm your host, Chief Jamal. Coming to you from beautiful Van Nuys, California, in the Valley. And we're going to talk about today body count, sexual body count. Does sexual body count matter for both men and women? And how it matters. How does sexual body count matter? Does sexual body count matter? Sexual body count, does it matter? Well, the answer to that quickly is yes. Obviously it matters. Now, how it matters is where we get the discrepancies and how much it matters. We have movements right now to where we're being told it doesn't matter for women anymore when biologically that's impossible. We've always been told it doesn't matter for men, but now we're starting to see where it's even being told where it doesn't matter for women. If you are a woman, that is a grave mistake to make that mistake. It definitely matters. So we're going to go into each gender. Now, for men, we're going to women, we're going to talk about the men first. We'll talk about the men first. We'll go to the men first. Because the big misconception that a lot of you men have out there is that it doesn't matter. That you look at it as transactional, that it gives you more status, and some of that is true. I will not deny men. It is societally looked at differently for men. It is looked at some estimation of status, but we have to be careful with that. There's particulars to that. If you just banging a bunch of women for the sake of banging a bunch of women, that's going to be a bad look for you. It's going to bring you a lot of issues. Trust me, I know. That's not going to be necessarily a great thing. But it is looked less down on as it is for women, and that's simply because of how we're wired psychologically. But let's just be honest, pure biology tells us that. Pure biology. When you talk about sexual organs, and this is an actual statistic, you can look it up. A woman, because she has a vagina which is internal, she is over 800%. I think it's more than that, but at minimum 800, that's not like an exaggeration. That's an actual stat. 800% more likely to get STDs than a man. Reason being because a man has an external organ, a sexual organ. He's not the one taking, he's not the receiver. He's the giver. It's just simple common sense. But in this day and age, they try to tell us to turn us against common sense, turn us against our commonalities, and get us to deny what is truth. No one thing, no one person should want all, no one gender should want all or to be equal to the gender, because we have our roles. Now for men, let's go back to it. For men, why it matters for men, how it matters physically. Does it matter as much physically? Yes, it does. Now, are you less likely to get STDs in a woman? Absolutely, you're a lot less likely. You pretty much just have to clean yourself up after you're done, or put a condom on, and you don't have much to worry about. Even if you don't use a condom, if you use the bathroom after you're done cleaning yourself up, there's a good chance you still won't get nothing. I know that may be controversial to some of you, but there's lots of science on that, and when you get away from the propaganda that's out here, you will understand that is actually true. But I do not advise that, obviously. This is with somebody you feel you can do that when you okay with that. But you still have the risk there. You still can get an STD. You still can cause a pregnancy. You still can. So there's unwanted pregnancy. So there's physical risk for men. The physical risks aren't as high because you can't carry the baby, or you can't necessarily be on the high end of the receiving of the STD, but you still have physical risk. Now, deterioration. Let's talk about deterioration. Does it deteriorate man physically? Very little. It actually, a lot of men will say no, it doesn't, but there is science that says that depending on the man, some men it elevates them physically. They get more physical problems. Some men it deteriorates. Maybe their prostate isn't as strong. Maybe their pelvic bone isn't as strong. Maybe they have a STD, like a complex where if they have sex and they rub, they break out or something like that. So there's minimal, but it's kind of a common thing. The physical risk for men is a lot minimal, but it is still physical and health risk with body counts. So you have to keep that in mind. Now, for a lot of men, they don't care about that because the risk is a lot minimal in comparison to the counterpart of women. But that is something to keep in mind. So, spiritual wise, or your solstice wise, or connection wise, this is what I want to get into. For a lot of you brothers don't understand. Well, I didn't understand. I had to learn the hard way. So I hope you don't have to learn like me, and you can learn and just avoid it for you younger guys. When you have a high body count, do some women see that as like alpha, or they are more attracted to you? Absolutely. But this is what a lot of these dating coaches and people are not telling you. The wrong type of women see that a lot of times. Not always. You get some people, I'm not going to lie to you and say it's 100% truth. You can attract certain women who may have some qualities of what you're looking for and have a high body count, but it's highly less likely. Reason being because the same pheromones they talk about that cause attraction with women and things of that nature that they feel when you hear guys talk about semen retention or being masculine frame, those same pheromones, those same sensibilities of women can detect when you don't have any sexual control of your sexual organs. You don't have any, penile control, any baloney pony control. They can sense that. So if it's a quality woman that sees that if it may be a particular woman you like of a higher status, they can sense that you're promiscuous. They can feel that you have easy access, and they will either. Now look, they may still, a lot of times they're going to still have sex with you. I'm going to be straight up with you. They're going to still give you sexual attention a lot of times, straight up and down. I'm not going to lie to you, but here's the kicker: they won't take you seriously. If you listen in the manosphere, a lot of times these guys are what's called Tyrones or Pookies and Ray Rays. Yeah, you'll get sexual action, but she won't look at you seriously. You'll be a temporary. So if you get your feelings into her, she might ghost you or go for a guy who's gonna be a better provider, or she'll just see you as sex. She won't take you seriously. So if you're okay with some of you guys, okay with that, you're like, hey, that's not a big draw for me, but a lot of you guys aren't. Let's keep it real. A lot of you guys be fronting. Y'all aren't okay with that. Y'all be wanting something more. Is she a higher status woman? Those are so hard to find. She's a good woman. You're not gonna want to just be a Pookie or Ray Ray or a Tyrone to her. You're gonna want to actually be, have some status with this woman, some type of status with this woman. So even if they ain't your wife, you're gonna want something more than just a booty call eventually. If you're an older man, for the most part, some younger men, whatever. But that's going to be a drawback. They can sense that you don't have any control. So women who can sense that, a lot of women are trained to, you got to remember, even in the jungle, the lioness is the hunter, the main hunter. The lion only hunts, he comes in for the big kills, like the big water, a big water buffalo or big hippo or something, but the main hunter is the lioness. So they know how to apex hunt. So let's say you're a guy who's a flashy guy, you got money. If they see you don't have any control of your sexual organs as a man, they will use that against you. That's why a lot of men get got. A lot of men get taken advantage of. They get money taken from them. They get scammed because the woman senses that man doesn't have control, and she manipulates. She sees that he's an easy target. So you're more of an easy target when you have a high body count. Another thing that's a negative as far as for men, why it matters for us, it takes away our energy. Our energy is in our semen. Our energy is in our semen. That's our life force. A lot of stuff you see about semen retention out here, you might think it's BS. It is true. I don't care what they tell you. I'm gonna tell you this. Just think about this, right? Everything out here, they charge you for every single thing. Even if you get a little cheap game on your phone, you gotta pay. You gotta pay for everything, right? But porn is free. Now some of you guys are I'm not gonna call names, but some of you guys aren't that sharp, and you still try to buy porn. But for you, just a news flash for you, you can see anything for free on the internet. As far as porn wise, if they give it to you freely, they want you. That is by design. The powers that be want you to be drained, because when you don't have your energy as men, you're not as creative. Our life force is in our semen. That's where we get our creative energy from. That's how we build as men. So that's how we, it's the blessing of Abraham. A lot of the stuff in the scriptures, allegories, as far as your power, the light. That talks about your pineal gland. When you hold your semen and you don't just split it all over the place, you got more power in your pineal gland. You're able to properly, nourish your pineal gland and transmit energy better. So that's the main drawback to me. You don't want to waste your seed. Your seed should be used only for reproduction. That's how I feel. Or, if it's for somebody you feel worthy of having your seed. That's a higher level. And if you can't do that, I'm not saying you got to be like that. At least limit it somewhat. I would never waste it masturbating as a man. Just don't do that. At least use it with a woman. At the very minute. At least do that. But not over and over. But if you're doing that over and over, they can sense that, man. That's where the science comes in. They can sense when you don't have sexual control. So those are some of the main things. So, man, I'm sure there's more. Comment on it. We'll talk about it. But I want to go into the women. Now, the women. There's a lot of obvious ones with women. The health, we'll go start back with the health and the biology. The health and the biology risks are, we went over, 800% more likely to get STDs. They're encompassing fluids, DNA. They carry, I don't care what study tells you that that's not true, that is true. Listen, I'm going to put it like this. Because you get people that say, first of all, whenever you hear something that says new studies, there's nothing new under the sun. That is code word for manipulated information. Nothing is new. You can only discover certain things, maybe learn it for yourself, but nothing is actually new. There's nothing new under the sun. That's in Ecclesiasticus for you guys who study the scriptures. Check this out. Let's do it like, if you hear these arguments that say that, oh no, women don't carry the DNA. Well, let's just do this. Because I'm gonna just make it real common, plain sense for you guys. Make it real common sense, right? Real common sense. Here's the thing. I'm going to put it like this, right? When a murder is committed, right? When a murder is committed, okay? When a murder is committed, or a crime or a rape, right? Let's say it was committed years and years ago. Some of you, if you guys watch Unsolved, I like watching Unsolved Mysteries. I don't watch much TV, but sometimes I watch Unsolved Mysteries and murders and things of that nature. The cases that get solved, how is that case solved? The person left a piece of DNA from a hair or something small and able to find murderers from like a nail, or like if they drunk just watch some of these shows. They left their coffee mug there, and from the lip of the coffee mug, they were able to match the DNA. So how are they going to tell you that they're able to solve 30, 40-year-old murders from DNA, but when a man comes inside a woman, that she's not carrying any DNA? that eventually it washes out. It does not washes out. It goes into her bloodstream. That's why in the scriptures, it'll talk about basically how that's why the design, you don't have to believe it or not, but women are designed to be with one man. They're not designed to be with multiple men. Because each time that DNA goes, that's why it's actual clinical studies that show that when women have sex, the more partners she has, the less it's harder for her to pair bond, the harder it is for her to be psychologically healthy. She has more emotional issues. It's a lot more issues because she's taking on the personalities of the man, because it ain't just the physical DNA, it's the spirituality. So the health risks are astronomical and more deadly for women. So the body count for women definitely matters on a health scale and on the physical scale at a high level if you're a woman. Another thing is mating. Like I just said, there's studies that say how it affects mating. You are less likely to mate because you have all this DNA, and spiritually it's even more encompassing. Spiritually, it affects both men and women, because you talk about people becoming one flesh. You're taking on that person, but it's just for a man. He doesn't have the actual biology to go with it. He can just wash himself off, and he's pretty much done with that woman. A woman can't just wash the man out of him, even with a condom. Yes, even with a condom, do your research. You are still getting fragments of that man inside of your body versus outside of your body. Major difference directly into your veins and your bloodstream and your organs. So it's a huge risk. Now, let's get into, for women, the social stigma. As much as they try to change it, as much as they try to advertise, and a lot of guys who are simps or whatever, some guys that go for it, but for the most part, guys who value themselves, simps go for it, guys who want low-hanging fruit go for that, but guys who value themselves do not. They do not want to deal or marry. They'll sleep with those women. That's just what men do. Men go by accident. Men sleep with anything. If you're a man, you don't discipline yourself, you are susceptible to sleep with anything. Man has to actually take time to discipline the sexual organ. Anyways, men will sleep with those women, but they will not marry those women. They will not mate with. They may even have kids with those women, but they don't marry those women. And I don't care what a woman says, how much she holds, 99% of women want to be married, unless they just like women. But even they want to be married. All right, so it's a big deal socially for them because they're not able to pair bond as far as mating for women. So for body count for women, it doesn't affect men as far as mating is nowhere near as much, but it does affect them. It doesn't affect men health-wise, but it does affect them as much as women. It's a drastic difference. So as women, you have to understand, you can't say that that's not fair, because there's advantages you get as women in society that we don't get as men. Everything equals out. That's everything. Even in the world where they're trying to push imbalances, biology is always going to balance stuff out and bring us back home to how things are supposed to be ordered. It's not about who's better. It's not about who's putting who in submission. It's just about biology and what science tells us. And the longer we try to avoid that and try to go against that, the harsher society will become, and the more far we will be away from becoming a society that's going to be functional in the future instead of dysfunctional and heading into complete dissolution. So with that being said, family, that's my video. Comment, like, subscribe. Be sure to hit that notification button. Let me know how you like the video. If you want more videos about these topics, let me know. We're just kind of sitting things out there, seeing how they sit, seeing how they hit. So make sure you subscribe, hit the notification button. Peace, love, life, balance.